Hello and welcome to T-Set Pass, my weekly Yu-Gi-Oh podcast. We talk all things Yu-Gi-Oh. Today we have Rhymestyle coming on. He's an amazing YouTuber, does a lot of Dragon Ball content, a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh classic content on Master Duel. He's a lovely fella and I had a lovely conversation, so hopefully you enjoy today's talk. He will also be playing T-Set Pass. We had a break from that mini game last week because Emma was a Magic player. I didn't think it was very fair to make her guess Yu-Gi-Oh cards, so hopefully you'll enjoy a triple decker. He'll be guessing 3 sets of T-Set Pass cards this week. In other news, I recently did a charity live stream on Monday with Mistress Doom, doing a Price is Right style Yu-Gi-Oh quiz to raise money for Cancer Research UK. So I will link the VOD in the description below. So if you go and check that out, it was a lot of fun and I had a lot of, a really good time raising some money for charity. It's a cause that means quite a lot to me because my brother passed away from cancer. I really appreciate everybody who's listening this week. If you could leave in the comments below your guesses for each hint on the T-Set Pass before we reveal the answers, I would love to see what you think. No cheating. Tell me about how you got involved in the card game world as a whole, and specifically Yu-Gi-Oh, but I'm interested in beyond as well.
Oh my god, we talking about the origin story? The origin story was this guy right here.
Oh,
you know, when you were a kid, this is all people talked about in school. And I remember I had just moved here from Europe and I didn't really know much about anime or Pokemon, none of that stuff. But everyone was talking about Pokemon this, Pokemon that, and I remember it was 4th grade. I remember I was like the kid who was just like, nah, I'm not gonna get into that. I don't care. And I remember my friend, he was like the rich kid in the class. He goes, oh, just take my copy. I have 2 because he had both blue and red. He let me borrow red, and I did the unthinkable of erasing his save data because I didn't know that you couldn't do that. No. And I started my own file, which he didn't let me keep the game because I deleted the save file, but it's fine because he had Pokemon Blue anyways. Yeah. And I started playing Red, and next thing I know, I am also into Pokemon cards. So that was like my introduction to cards as a kid. But it's kind of like one of those things that was like, that came and went. Like, it was cool to be into Pokemon as a kid. You know, I never actually got a Charizard as a kid. I always wanted one. But it wasn't until a little bit later with the introduction of these. I don't know how I got into it. I think I just watched the anime. Yeah. And I thought it was like the coolest thing in the world. And at this point, because of my Pokemon wave, I was not getting cards. I was not getting any more cards. My parents were always like, nah, it's a waste of money. We're not doing that. But I still somehow managed to get like a starter deck. And I did what every kid did. You know, you grab the deck, you build a pile of cards, you duel your friends. And unlike Pokemon, I played Yu-Gi-Oh heavily as a kid. I was going to say, did you just collect Pokemon or did you play Pokemon? Because as a kid, I had Pokemon cards, but I think I maybe played like 2 games in my entire childhood. Yeah. The only time I ever played Pokemon as a kid was Pokemon, the TCG Game Boy game. And I thought the game was cool, but nobody was playing Pokemon. No. We were all playing in our neighborhood.
I was going to say, do you have any like really memorable childhood like playground Yu-Gi-Oh memories that come to mind?
Absolutely. I don't know if you guys have these, but here in the States, every neighborhood has this like green power box thing, and that was like the meeting ground. You know, you get back from school, you meet in the middle of the neighborhood around the green power box, and you just duel. And we would just do that for hours every single day for as long as I lived there. Is this like dueling on like a park bench type deal, or is this like actually on the grass? Yeah. Dueling? Okay. And anybody that watches this and grew up in the US, will know which green thing I'm talking about. But it was always like, we'll meet at the green thing, and then we would just duel. We obviously also, it's funny, Yu-Gi-Oh is like was so simple back then that us as 10-year-olds were picking this game up like it was nothing. Very, very easy. You can never do that today. Imagine you give a structure deck that just came out to a child. They're gonna be like, what do I do with this? But but back then we had a couple of questionable rules, like, you know, playing MSC to negate a spell. We all did that kind of mistake. Yeah. But it was still fun. It was still fun. And we also had our own rules, you know, once the original God cards came out for the Game Boy Worldwide Edition, I remember we started playing those, and they had no effects written, but we still used them. So I would say my favorite memory by far is probably the God cards, but I still have those 2 God cards. Your original ones as a kid. Yeah, it's the only 2 cards that survived my purge when I got older. Like, I got rid of all my cards, but I was like, I can't get rid of these. And I remember eventually I got them graded, and they came back. Like, one came back as 6, and one came back as 7. It was Obelisk and Slifer. I was gonna say, nobody, like, people. I guess, do you like Ra? It's like, Ra's K, but like Slifer and Obelisk is where it was at, because like that red and that blue, but I don't know about Ra. I always like control style gameplay and decks, you know. And what Slifer did is Slifer allowed you to control by having it on the field. Your opponent can't really like normal summon. They have to like set everything and play around that. And I found that way more fun than just summoning Obelisk or even Wing Dragon Raw and attacking like once to win. Like Raw was more of a you summon, you just win, and the game's over type of deal.
Yeah.
And same thing with Obelisk. Obelisk was similar situation. You summon Obelisk, you punch twice, it's game over. But Slifer has always been my favorite.
I remember one of my most memorable losses as a child. I think it was my dad. I think he was just playing with like the Dino Structure deck. And little kid me, he wanted to play with all the Sacred Beasts and all the God cards. And I had Uriah, Lord of Searing Flame on the field already. And I summoned Ra. And I reduced my life points down to 100 for the Ra attack boost. And I attacked with Uriah first at his face-down defense monster. And his face-down defense monster was Oxygeddon, which is when destroyed by a Pyro-type monster, deals 500 to both players. So I lost because of Ra cast. And that's what that's burned into my brain, that Oxygeddon into Uriah burn.
I think that's another reason why I never really liked Raw. Even though they had no effects written on the cards, we kind of just made about it as we went. I never liked that deal of like, well, I'm just going to put all my life points into this card. And then next thing you know, your opponent flips Hinotama Soul or whatchamacallit, Sparks or something. And then you just lose. Magic
Cylinder or anything that can burn.
We had one kid in our neighborhood that had Magic Cylinder, and I hated dueling it because like, none of us played Mirror Force because again, we played what we had. But there was one kid who pulled, I remember, Magic Cylinder, and he won so many duels in Ashal because of that card.
Yeah, like it's interesting because obviously you see meta players now, and they're not wrong, like saying something like Magic Cylinder is a bad card. But for a bad card, Magic Cylinder wins a hell of a lot of games. Like,
Magic Cylinder was great back then.
I love Magic Cylinder.
I think that's one of the reasons why I love old Yu-Gi-Oh more than anything. I mean, there's obviously a nostalgic factor of me growing up with it, but like every card has its use for specific situations, you know, like we all played those meta cards. We all had like, I mean, right now you probably put like Snatch, Steal, Premature Burial, stuff like that into your GOAT deck. But like those cards, all like every spell or trap could have a specific use in certain situations, even though they were bad cards. I think that's what I like about old Yu-Gi-Oh so much more.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I love slower but annoying cards like Spirit Reaper. Marshmallow. I love those.
Spirit Reaper, I think it has always been one of my favorites.
Yeah. I know at one point people were testing a Reaper format, but I feel like that's kind of fallen out of style now. I don't really remember what the rules were. I know Edison's pretty big now. GOAT's obviously always been pretty beloved.
I actually just got into Edison, and I got my deck literally right here. I got this like 2 days ago.
What did you pick up for Edison?
Deep Sea Diva Heroes.
Diva Heroes. That's amazing.
There's your Reaper.
There's your Reaper. You got to play Reaper. And Kaius, the Shadow Monarch, to go with him.
This is a very, very fun format for me. Because what I like about Edison is I have one problem with Edison. I feel like it's missing iconic decks and cards. As weird as it sounds. Like,
yeah.
For example, like there's no Chaos decks. I always loved playing Chaos decks. And by the time Edison came out, all the Chaos cards are basically banned. Like BLS and stuff like that.
I was going to say, BLS isn't legal in Edison at all, is he?
Yeah, no. I think that card came back way later. What I don't like about Edison is it's missing like the blue eyes and stuff like that. But I also know it's kind of based off of the later series anyways, and it's got the heroes, so it's kind of more connected to GX. I feel like if I grew up under the GX era, I would like Edison a bit more. But with the combination of me growing up with Duel Monsters and GOAT, I'm always going to be a bit more on Team GOAT over anything else. But I will say I appreciate Edison because it's like, it's GOAT, but faster. You know, you have stuff like the synchros you can use and things like that. And I do see the hype in it, and I actually have a lot of fun dueling with that format.
I agree in terms of it's less iconic than GOAT, but I think that is where I enjoy it more. Because GOAT, there are like the coolest, best decks in GOAT, which everybody wants to play. Like, everybody wants to play the Chaos stuff because it is the stuff. Where at least in Edison, there's quite a few decks you can play. You can play Diva Hero, you can play all sorts of junk. I've seen Gemini Spark, Turbo, I've seen loads of different things with Edison.
I agree, and I have a bit of a disagreement with that. The only thing that I don't like about Edison, and this is not like a fault of Edison, but it's the synchro decks are all basically the same.
Oh yeah, synchro.
Like, it's the same like 10 cards, with the combination of a couple other ones. That's not a bad thing. It's still fun. And This is like an argument I always like to have with, you know, older versus modern Yu-Gi-Oh debates. It's like people always say, well, you know, older Yu-Gi-Oh was broken too. You know, you never been Yao locked before. You never been, you know, dueling against Chaos decks left and right. The difference is you can duel a Chaos deck with a Chaos deck or a Chaos deck with whatever deck you're playing, and you still get to play. That's the key here.
Yeah.
In modern day Yu-Gi-Oh, sometimes you lose a coin toss or the dice roll, you don't get to play.
Yeah.
It's game over. Like, where's the fun in that?
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. Even if, and maybe it is just an illusion of being able to play, you know what I mean? Like, you've lost the duel, but you lose the duel on turn 5 rather than on turn 1. But, like, you at least get to feel like you're playing the game. And you get to put some cards in your spell traps, you get to put some cards in your monster zone. You actually get to do something and get some value out of the game that you bothered to buy the deck for.
I don't think I've ever lost in GOAT or older Yu-Gi-Oh! And I felt angry about it. Like for example, I was playing last night with one of my friends, and out of like 6 duels, I think I won 1. But never did I feel like this. I hate this game. I played Master Duel yesterday for a video, and I think I recorded for an hour and a half. And then I was trying to try the new Obelisk Breaking the Ruin card, which just came out. Yeah. And I was just trying to do. I was doing casual duels too, by the way. So I was trying to build like a Obelisk deck that works with the spell really, really well. And I think I lost, I would say 90% of the duels because it's Obelisk, you know. And then casual people are still playing Cashier and stuff like that. And I'm just like, every single time I lost, it was just like, this is just not fun. And I get it. I'm playing Obelisk. I should be losing to begin with. But, like, there's like a level of feeling that you get where just like, I'm just not enjoying this right now. Great. My opponent opened with Maxi, Call By, and Ash. Congrats. I guess I won't do anything. But, like, you lose to the better decks in Edison and GOAT. It's like, I'm still playing. It's like maybe I can draw it out. Maybe I can do something to stall out. In modern day Yu-Gi-Oh, a lot of times, I guess the powerful decks, it's decided on a coin flip, and I'm not a big fan of that. I think they should just ban every busted card. I said it. Ban every busted card and start over. And I know there's gonna be some players that are like, well, I'm leaving. Goodbye. Because guess what? For every person that leaves, 10 more will come back to the game, and the game will be better down the line. I get playing broken stuff is like enjoyable and can be fun. But like you gotta look at the overarching scheme of everything. It's like if everything is too broken and keeps getting more broken down the line, at some point the entire infrastructure is going to collapse. Yeah,
and they clearly know that's a problem too. That's what they did. That's why they like took Pendulum behind the shed and shot it in the back of the head when they made links. You know, they've seen when they've gone too far. Sometimes they just need to keep doing it. They need to keep.
Yeah.
But like I remember when they brought links out. And obviously destroyed Fusion, Xyz, Synchro, and Pendulum at the time because you now had to play things into the link arrows rather than being able to summon loads. Yes, it was horrible, but boy, I did have a few months where it was like we had to figure out what worked, and that was fun for a change. You know what I mean? Like right now, I feel like a new deck comes out and we know if it's good, we know if it's like terrible or not. There was like that period where they just killed everything, and we were like, well, what's even a good deck right now? And that was fun. For me, I don't know if it was fun for anybody else. I remember the day they announced links, I bought Cyber Angel and Herald of Perfection, and I built that because I was like, well, if they're going to take away the extra deck, I'm going all in on rituals, and that was just a really fun change because I didn't want to play links. Yeah. I think they should murder more cards, and I see people talk about there's too much on the ban list, and people spend all day being like, yeah, it could come off, like I don't know, like stuff like. You know, Master Duel players are like, yeah, Maxi could come off. I'm like, well, it could come off, but would it make it better? Like, it could come off, and then we'd all play it, and it would just be the same as this. It was the same as Master Duel. I'm not against it, particularly, but, like, I can't pretend that I don't care if it comes back. Like, leave it off if you want.
I think they should just hit, like, the main problem cards that are always an issue. Like, Dimension Shifter needs to go. It's busted.
100%.
You know, you got your standard floodgates as well. They gotta go. Now, I know some floodgates are necessary because of how broken the game is. I get that. But then there's certain cards that just, like, there's no interaction at all. It's like, if you open up with this one card, the duel's over. It's like, congrats. You played D-Fisher. Now I can't play at all. I guess I'll scoop side and then come back and duel 2 and duel 3. I think they should just hit all the annoying cards because, like, this is the way I see it. Is we should never be in a situation where 1 or 2 decks are significantly stronger than anything else. And that's one thing I like about Edison. It's like Edison, I feel like everything feels so balanced, except for frogs. We hate frogs, but like in general, everything feels a bit more balanced. And even with older and GOAT Yu-Gi-Oh, despite chaos being everywhere, there was still a big balance of what you can play in that format as well. Like obviously you always have the best decks, but like everything still felt the same playing field. But now it's like Tearlaments came out. Tearlaments, I think, ruined the game. Yeah. And the tier players are going to always be like, well, tier is the best thing we ever had in Yu-Gi-Oh! No, it's not. Like you enjoy playing tier because of how broken it was, not because of how fun it is. You're enjoying it because it's broken. And something else I also like about modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Is when it no longer becomes your turn. It's like a game amongst two players means one player plays, then the next player plays. But like what I'm seeing a lot more with modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Is you play and then you play again. Now that's not to confuse it with, does that mean you shouldn't be playing spells and traps when your opponent's turns? No. That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is you end your turn after setting up your board, and then it becomes your opponent's turn, and you're still playing your turns to set up the board. You know, stuff like Goatee, stuff like Tearlaments, stuff like that. I don't like that. Flu, all those that shouldn't be a thing. You should have a main
like
phase
you
3.
Don't get your main phase until their main phase. You know what I mean? Like Flu's like, yeah, I'm gonna Rabina. I've been playing tier recently. Since I didn't want to play it when it was full power because, you know, it just felt horrible. But, like, I picked it up recently just as, like, a fun, like... Because I love Lightsworn. And I've never not loved Lightsworn. I love Milbur. And I was just... You are 100% right. I had a game, locals last, against a Dark World player. And he discarded some of my own Tearlaments from my hand with his Dark World plays. Our turn 1 took 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's insane. It wasn't even
that's
a turn
really insane.
That's turn 1 on his turn. I managed to build a 3 fusion board, and we played for 20 minutes in his turn 1 before I even drew for my turn 1. Like that shouldn't happen. I don't think that should happen.
I also love the players who pretend like the long turns don't exist. Because like I always make fun of like, here we go. Opponent won the coin toss. Now they're gonna play for 20 minutes and then build a 20 million negate board that I can't do anything about. There's always somebody in my comments that was like, what 20-minute turns? They don't exist. I'm like, I don't know what game you're playing, but that they exist. They're not literally 20 minutes, but they're long and they feel very long. But long turns do exist, and I also don't like that. That's another reason why I like the older formats, because like a turn will consist of set 1 pass, like, and then you're done.
Well, this whole podcast is called T-Set Pass because of how iconic the T-Set Pass was. It's big. That's fun. It's funny. T-Set Pass used to be the standard of Yu-Gi-Oh, and now a T-Set Pass means, God, you must have bricked your hand, mate. Whereas, like, if you're T-Set passing, you are losing this.
It's funny though, like when you look at it, I like how this is turning into like a whole modern versus old podcast, like out of nowhere. If you ask anybody to grow up with the game, a lot of people will be like, well, first of all, they'll be like, Yu-Gi-Oh still exists? Question mark. It does. I can't even imagine what Yu-Gi-Oh looks like today. Correct. It's a game. And then you actually look into it, you're like, what happened to my game? What did they do? Look, I understand growth needs to happen and stuff needs to evolve to be better. And I still think Yu-Gi-Oh! Modern is fun. It just has issues. Like any other game out there has issues. And once you can figure out how to fix these issues, you can really, you know, go down the road of making the game really, really good. And I feel like if Yu-Gi-Oh! Never evolved, it probably wouldn't be as fun today. Like if we're still playing, you know, GOAT format in 2023, it probably wouldn't be fun. Some will enjoy it, but like you need to have that new gimmick that makes you want to explore different ways to gameplay. So that's why I think adding like stuff like links, Exceeds, and synchros was the right move. Except for pendulums, we hate pendulums, but everything else is fine. It's the right move.
Yeah. So
the question now I have is like, what's next? What are they going to do tomorrow that is going to change the game and still keep it in check? But the problem is they're still printing problem cards, and with every problem card printed today, 10 years down the line might be even worse. That's why stuff like Skill Drain and all the main floodgates exist from 20 years ago.
Yeah, but yeah, I've got a little game for you to play, and I've set up a couple because I don't know how. I know that you're interesting. You're hard to predict because you've played Modern, you've played a lot of Master Duel. I know in your heart you love the classics and the GOAT and the DM. So I wasn't sure how to go. So I've made a couple of different sets. So I've set up a couple of T-set passes. So I've got something face down in the monster zone, something face down in the spell trap zone. Now you're going to get 3 yes/no questions to narrow it down if you'd like. And you'll get a point for every correct guess. T-set pass on T-set pass. It can be for anything from the whole of Yu-Gi-Oh! History. And your clue that I gave you is the first one is a magical combination.
A magical combination. Is it related to Dark Magician?
Yes. is related to Dark Magician.
Is the monster an effect monster?
Yes.
Does the spell trap negate?
Yes, it negates something.
Okay, so there's like 2 options I can think of right now. Magician's combination and Dark Magician Girl.
I can confirm that you did get the Dark Magician Girl. She was your face down monster, chosen specially for you because I know how much you love her. But that's not my spell trap. So you can guess the spell trap again. It negates something.
Magician's Navigation.
It's not Magician's Navigation. It is a specific Dark Magician. Like I said, it's not inherently linked. However, it is a Yugi classic. It is the Magic Cylinder.
Magic
because
Cylinder!
It negates
okay.
an attack. I got another one cooked up for you. Now this is ready for you to guess. The hint is no draw for you.
No draw for me. What makes me not draw? Oh! Is it a... Is it related to Sacred Phoenix in any way?
No.
Okay, so it's not Wing Blast. Does the card bounce to the top of my deck?
No.
Okay, so it's just a straight up no drawing. Does the monster have to attack to have no draw?
Yes.
The monster's Yatagarasu.
The monster is the little bird himself, straight off the ban list, Yatagarasu. Recently free from the ban list. Still not seen any play since. I always thought it was a bird, but it's a fiend. Crazy.
Yeah.
So now you're spell trapped again.
And again, these are not related to each other, but
they fit the theme, but they are not inherently linked. Yeah. Okay. For example, I'll tell you what last week's was. Last week's hint was bouncy bouncy, and it was compulsory evacuation and mole. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember I immediately went to Hain for that one.
I was hoping you would.
So Yatagarasu is 1. What's a card that makes? It's the trap card. What is that card? Time Seal.
Yes, Time Seal. You got it. Amazing work. No, that was fun. I wasn't sure. I've got a modernish one here, and this might be too complicated. I don't know if this is too complicated for anyone, but these are entirely interchangeable floodgates.
Interchangeable floodgates.
Yes.
Okay.
Now this might be too fiddly, and I'm not sure if anyone will get this one. So I'll see if I've overcooked it.
Does Dispel a Trap banish?
No. And it's in the spell and trap zone, but it might not be a spell or trap. It just has to be legal to be put in the spell and trap zone.
Oh, I know what it is. People cheated with these cards.
Ooh.
They tried to cheat with these cards originally. I don't know much about them. Oh, wait a minute. Wait. No.
These are legal, so this isn't a cheat. This isn't an Infernity Archfiend in the spell trap to get it out of your hand.
I'm gonna go ahead and guess for the spell trap. It's the Scythe Lock card. What was it called? Artifact Scythe?
Yes, you got the Scythe. Scythe was the card in the spell trap, so interchangeable with the card that isn't in the spell trap.
Okay, and you said it's a floodgate. When we say interchangeable, do you mean like they're in the same like realm?
They are not. By nature, these cards have nothing to do with each other. However, they are interchangeable in this particular board setup.
Okay, so I have 2 questions left?
Yes.
Is the monster related to Buster Blader?
Yes.
Buster Welt.
Yes! I was sure, because I wanted it to be like you could put them both in the spell trap or both in the monster zone. That was what I was going for. Well, that was fun. I'm glad that you got it, because I was worried that that one might be a little bit too niche. But there we go. But brilliant.
It's a good one.
Thank you. I was pleased with that one.
I do love what you guys have been doing with TikTok, you know?
Yeah. I think it's really saved the game for me. Like, just as a person, I was getting, not like burned out, but I hadn't been like thinking about it in a fun way for a long time. It's really kicked it in for me.
I just remember I saw it for the first time. I'm like, this is just the coolest shit in the world. And obviously, you'll get the people who are like, what the fuck is this? It's like, that's fun. Like, people grow up and just forget how to have fun. It's like you become an adult and you just forget the things that like made your life special. And I enjoy that shit. I think it's dope, and I fucking love it.
Like, I don't know if you've ever seen me play the Exodia deck on live. I haven't played it for a little bit, but like doing an Exodia on live in front of like 3K people was like it was like one of the highlights of my time ever playing Yu-Gi-Oh. Like, I never thought I'd do it in my life, finish an Exodia, because it's not meta. But then when you're playing like a low tier singleton format, you can just shove your deck with like mirror force launcher, so I can keep getting back my mirror to keep hiding behind it, and like and decoy cheese for draws. Like, there's so much fun stuff that you miss when you only play meta. And I love meta still. Like, I love playing real Yu-Gi-Oh, but like there's so much fun stuff in fun Yu-Gi-Oh.
I'm just convinced a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players just forgot what fun was, and a lot of people just focus on, let me build this 10 negate board and end my turn so my opponent can't play. It's like, how are you playing? This is not Yu-Gi-Oh! This is just a one-player game now.
Yeah. It is fun setting up the nasty board, but it's more fun being able to play with them, I think. And you can do that with some modern decks, and you can't with others. Like, I've been enjoying Vanquish Soul, just because of those.
I want to try that. I still want to try that.
That deck is fun.
Konami hates when people all play the same cards. One of the reasons why they will literally limit cards and ban cards is so people stop doing that. Like, Upstart Goblin is at 1 because everyone's just running it at 3. Because there's no reason not to do it. Like, so I feel like it's kind of also hypocritical that they do that, because like they will ban or limit a card because they don't want everybody running it, but then they will allow other stuff to just run rampant. It's like, no, that card's fine. Like, this is fine. That's not okay, but this is fine.
Maxx 95% as of last week in Master Duel, but they don't mind that being used by everybody. And like, it's where's the be consistent?
Maxx is an interesting debate.
Yeah,
because I'm in the middle of it. I hate Maxx, but I love Maxx because like the way I see it is Maxx today is like the Snatch Steal of GOAT. It's gonna be in every single deck. There's no reason why you shouldn't play it. Like, if someone plays Snatch Steal and you watch your BLS get taken away, obviously you're gonna be upset. You're like, damn, I lost the game. GG's. But like, you're still gonna play it. My problem with Maxx though is I think honestly this is one of those rare times where I feel like they need to bring the errata back, which I know they don't like doing erratas anymore because it gets too confusing. And Maxx just needs to get an errata. And what I would do, I was talking about this in actually in a video that I uploaded today. What I would do with Maxx is you can only play Maxx when you have nothing on the field. That limits it, and once per duel. Once per duel. Because at that point now it's like to be fair, you're only gonna play it once per duel. Once per duel anyways. Yeah. What I cannot stand is you go first, your opponent blasts Maxx, and then you go, all right, let me just wait a turn. You do a minimal play, you end your turn, they do nothing. You go back to you, and then they blast the second one. It's like,
yeah, that's oppressive.
Let me try to play. Let me try to play through a second one.
But you can't limit it, because limiting it means that it's even more annoying, because you know they've only got 1, and then they've got the 1 of, and then so you need to have 3, but be once per duel, and then that way it's fair because you have to worry about it.
See, you make it once per duel. That makes the next 2 a brick. I mean, let's be fair. If you draw into Maxx later in the duel anyways, most likely it is a brick anyways. At that point, you don't want to see Maxx, especially after your opponent just popped off. But the other thing I would do, like I said, is make it once per duel and make it so you can only do it when you have nothing on board. Basically, it needs to be a combo check card like it was to begin with. Yeah. The problem right now is my opponent will go first. It actually happened in my video today as well. I was testing out, like I said, that Obelisk deck. My opponent just blasts Maxx. I end my turn. They go. They set up their full board. I'm not dead. I'm fine. They got like, it was only like 4 negates, 3 or 4, which I could have played through. And the second their turn ends, they go to me, they blast the second one. I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm not even gonna try, because like now I'm letting them draw stuff, and I have to play through all these negates. I'm good. So you change Maxx where it's once per duel, and make it so you can only play it when there's nothing on the field, and I think the card is perfectly fine. Yeah. It's just that when you have to deal with a full board on top of Maxx is such a problem.
100%, 100%. You mentioned negates there. Obviously, floodgates aren't fun. Do you prefer sort of the builder board negate? Obviously, modern has its benefits and positives, but I know some people hate negate boards, and I don't really mind negate boards because there's actually like a skill there. You have to like bait your opponent, whereas like floodgate boards, it's more like break the floodgate. Which do you find to be healthier in your opinion?
I don't mind breaking boards. I think one of the best parts of modern day Yu-Gi-Oh that old Yu-Gi-Oh does not have is breaking that board. Like, I had a clip I posted on Twitter a couple weeks ago now, where they went first. I had nothing in my hand, and I had to break a board of, I think, like 6 negates with a lower tier deck.
Yeah.
And I did that, and it felt great. I'm not on the team of get rid of negates, get rid of hand traps, because they're all needed in today's game. And I find it very, very fun breaking a board. Like, I mean, that's what Yugioh today is. That's very exciting. You know, you got your combos. It's very satisfying pull off. And then when you switch turns, it's how do I break this board? And if you succeed, it's a lot of fun. The thing I would do though, because I get both sides, is modern Yu-Gi-Oh sometimes is too broken. But there's specific cards where you just can't do anything. For example, Protos. It's banned now, but it's still allowed in stuff like Master Duel. A searchable floodgate on top of everything else they set up. Like, they'll set up the full Sword Soul setup, and they also play emerges, and they grab Protos, and it's like, cool, guess I will literally do nothing now. I hate those kind of boards, because it's like, I guess it's more on the floodgate side. It's like, Yu-Gi-Oh should not be in a situation where you can build a bunch of negates and flood your opponent out.
I 100% agree. I think there is something really satisfying about breaking the negates and baiting the negates, and I think that's where you prove you're good as a player, because you can give the top meta deck to any player, and they will do better than somebody using a starter deck. But when they're against somebody who actually knows how to play the game, you need to know when to ash, when to imperm, when to draw, like where are the choke points, like what do you need to do? And I think that's interesting, and I agree that, and that's why I prefer a format where they can make like 3 negates that you have to deal with, rather than
that's
a Rise Heart pass where you have no graveyard anymore, and they can pop something once per turn, and
which is insane.
Yeah, it's mad.
Well, there's a lot of people on the casual side that absolutely hate Ash Blossom. They think it's like the worst card ever created. They want it banned, and I'm like, no, you don't understand. If you take away Ash Blossom, you don't get to play. If you take away hand traps, you do not get to play if you go second.
Yeah, never.
Because a lot of people remember going second in old Yu-Gi-Oh and still being able to play. It's like, you know, the big problem was adding stuff like hand traps. Hand traps were added because Yu-Gi-Oh became a problem with the powers, but also they're added so you can balance it out. You know, because watching your opponent fully pop off, you literally don't get to do anything. And also the way I see it is, despite it sucks when your card gets ashed. If your deck loses to a single Ash Blossom consistently, that's a problem with your deck.
Yeah.
And while certain anime cards, obviously, like, or anime decks, like Blue Eyes, for example, if you Ash Melody, it's like you will probably lose, because you probably already have a brick in your hand. You're not doing anything. That's what hand traps like Ash Blossom do also, is it really makes you think of different ways to build a deck. Because, like, not only do you have to, like, play around hand traps that you know exist and are, like, consistently being played, but also, like, how to bait it out. Like, you're never, if you're playing your best card that loses to Ash turn 1 when there's other options, then it's like you are the reason why you lost, not because of the Ash Blossom.
100%.
And obviously, you might start with, you know, terrible cards in your hand, but like the idea is building a deck that lets you, number 1, play through multiple hand traps, and 2, just doesn't lose a single one. If you lose a single one, not because you brick, that's a problem with deck construction, and you just got to build a better deck. And no one likes hearing that.
I find it fascinating that there's single cards that have changed the way we all play Yu-Gi-Oh! If you think back to Gauze, changing the order we attack with stuff to make sure that we don't attack with the biggest thing first, so the token doesn't get too fat. That changed my mind as a kid.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, Nibiru.
And I feel like people probably hated Gores back then. They were like, Gores ruined the game. It's like, well, why did you attack with your strongest monster first? Like, you just gotta adapt to how the atmosphere and the playstyle of the game is. Otherwise, if you consistently are losing to the same thing and you're not understanding, that's kind of like on the player, to be honest.
Yeah. And Gauze isn't hard to play around as long as you remember to play around it. You know what I mean? You just gotta like play it properly. But I can imagine Gauze, like, I feel like Gauze maybe have been like the Fenrir of its day, you know, big 2,700 beat stick. He comes out for free. He gets so much free advantage, but like, no. Yeah,
and also the mind games that Gores added too, because it's like they have nothing on their field. Do I challenge them? Do I attack?
Yeah.
Look, something I miss with Yu-Gi-Oh nowadays is the mind games, because like, back then you could just set a remove spell or remove trap, which was obviously nothing, and people were like, that could be anything. That could be Mirror Force. I'm not attacking. But nowadays you can have a full back row. You're like, you know what? I don't care. I'm attacking because I can negate it. I can stop it.
Yeah.
Like, mind games in Yu-Gi-Oh was one of the reasons why the game was so fun growing up.
I agree. I love like outthinking an opponent, and I'm not saying that I do it very often, but I love watching people do it in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
I remember hearing about I can't remember what level of tournament it was. It was a pretty big one. A player and his opponent sort of gentlemen's agreed to side out. Remember Gin Buster, that card? That, yeah. He agreed to
broke the game.
Yeah, because it made it when you had a ritual monster, the opponent's extra deck had no effect, or they couldn't summon. I think they couldn't summon from the extra deck. I always forget which one Jin does. But basically, him and his opponent, gentlemen, agreed to side out the Gin Buster, and he sided out the Gin Buster for another Gin Buster that was in his side, and he was DQ'd for bad sportsmanship. But as long as he didn't lie about because he did side it out, he just sided another one, a separate copy in. I don't think that should be a bad sportsmanship.
That is funny.
That's 400 IQ. I think that shouldn't be banned for bad sportsmanship. I think that should be applauded for being an awesome comment.
I mean, that is pretty funny. I did a tournament recently where they brought 8 people who are either completely new to the game or very, very casual at it, and they pre-built decks for us. And I remember there was one moment where one of the players had a crazy deck, like by far was the strongest deck in the game. And I remember I was losing to it because I had a trap deck, so literally I lose to just back or removals. And I remember I got Harpy's Feather Duster, and she had 2 in the deck. She got Harpy's Feather Duster me, and I said something else which was completely nothing. I just had a smirk on my face, and she goes, I probably shouldn't attack. And I'm like, what do you want? I got like the most villainous smirk, and she passed her turn. I'm like,
nothing.
Mind games. Mind games are so important for this game.
Yeah, 100%. I love mind games, and it's something that you don't get on The Sims. You don't get it on like Master Duel because you can't look at your opponent in the eye. And I've only started playing locals like in the last month, just like to try something new. Like I've played competitively online. Like I've played meta decks online, but I hadn't played it in physical paper for a very, very long time. So I've started going to locals, and it has been fascinating going back to being able to like bait someone like with like a look. You know, there's a mix at my locals. There's some people on full power cash, and there's some people who with their Dream Mirror decks that are trying to make Dream Mirror work. So you get like a good mix, and it's just sort of like the bait of like they don't even know what my cards do sometimes. Like I was against a Drytron player, and he just didn't know what any of the Tearlaments did. I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. He didn't know what the Ishizu cards did, and he tried to summon something from his graveyard. I'm like, oh boy, this is gonna be fun. And like it's been such a long time since you can rely on human error, and it's so good going from The Sims where they help you, and that's good for getting players into the game. But like being able to misplay,
I hate that Master Duel keeps making it easier and easier to not misplay. Recently, they added an update where if you imperm, it shows you which column it lights the column up. I'm like, why would you do that? No, they also have when you activate with Chaos Angel, for example, when you summon Chaos Angel with let's say you only use Dark, so you only get the Dark effect where you can't be destroyed by battle. It will light that part up, but the other effect will be grayed out. And I hate that Master Duel holds your hands so much, which I get. They want more players to learn to play the game and stuff like that, but like I feel like I would love for them to add like a hard mode in the game where stuff just doesn't light up. Like you can activate stuff that you know can activate, but like without the light up effect. Because like sometimes opponents don't read. Like I was dueling against somebody the other day where I summoned Chaos Angel actually using just Dark, so he was affected by effects, but they refused to play an effect on it because I guess they didn't look. And I feel like one of the parts, I mean, I guess it's a bit more difficult because now you can ask like, hey, did you summon that with X, Y, and Z? So I get why they do it, but at the same time, I feel like it holds your hand too much. And the Imperm update was the worst because I've Imperm myself before. I'll play Imperm and forget that it's there, and I'll play in the same column and I'll lose for it, and that's my mistake. And I learned not to do it. Yeah. And that's part of the game as well, and I hate that they keep holding your hand.
Yeah, I maybe put that on casual ladder and don't keep it on ranked, or maybe like at plat they take it away. You know what I mean?
That's a good idea. Actually.
Yeah, maybe leave it for like bronze up, and then when you hit plat or diamond or whatever, then take it away. Like
yeah.
Because you shouldn't need it at that point. I would hope.
And I swear, sometimes you'll duel somebody in Master Duel, and you know they're just clicking every card lights up because they hope that something happens. Like I was doing someone yesterday, and literally they hit every card that lit up. And I'm like, there's no reason for you to do this. Why are you doing this? Like, stop! You're helping me right now.
Yeah, no, but even then, I feel like I've been very guilty of accidentally just go, oh, I can do something, and then oh no, I've banished my only card that could be targeted as my own card. So I guess I'm banishing my card now. This is my fun. But no, I agree. I don't like the Imperm. I like some bits that they've added. I like that you can see like your total attack for like all your monsters added up now on the side.
Cool.
That's pretty, like little things like that, like levels and stuff, that you would have to do anyway. But I think Imperm column was one that I was a bit whiffed about, because the whole point of that is get good. Like the whole point of that is don't do your column. Like remember.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I 100% agree. What would you do to like, if you could do anything to Master Duel to like shake it up? You've spent a lot of time in Master Duel. What would you do to save Master Duel? Fix it, improve it? Oh, I see.
I have merely but one answer. Bring him back.
Bring him back.
He did nothing wrong. Bring him back.
He's been banned since release, hasn't he, on Master Duel? Did he ever get?
He has been banned.
Yeah.
So it's because of OCG.
Terrified.
Well, so this is my problem with Master Duel, and I guess Yu-Gi-Oh in general, is they will ban a card solely because it's easy to bring out. Rather than hit the actual problem card, they'll ban something altogether. Now, certain boss cards should be banned. For example, Rongo, which just finally left Master Duel. Rongo, if you play Rongo normally, I think it's a fine card. It's not easy to get, all the parts attached to it. But with time progressing, and as I mentioned earlier, how certain cards become broken down the line, Rongo is a card that's not meant to be played in the future. It just isn't. And, you can do stuff like Sales Ban and Numbers Evil, where you summon Rongo for free, and then they never detach his parts. That's insane. That card is just poorly written and should not be playable. However, certain cards, I feel like are treated differently.
Yeah.
For example, the reason why Dragoon is banned allegedly is because of Verte. Verte is an incredibly broken card. You can just literally fusion summon anything that you want for 2,000 life points, and you also get to mill out your deck. The card is insane. So Verte is why Dragoon is banned, but then they let DPE exist. Like DPE literally came out, was splashed into every single deck, and existed also because of Verte. So it's like, why not just ban Verte? Ban Verte and just bring Dragoon back, stuff like that. And I mean, Dragoon is a very, very powerful card. Let's not pretend like it's an easy one to out. But at the same time,
it's not a game winner. Like, it's good. It's really, really good. You do not win because you summon Dragoon. You may win after you've summoned Dragoon, but it's not because of it. It's with it. Yeah,
my issue is, it's like there's a lot of other boss cards that exist in the game that were fine. Because I don't know if you didn't play Master Duel when it first came out. I don't know if you did, but they had King Calamity was legal. King Calamity was legal until like, I want to say, I think they banned it like 4 months ago or something like that, or actually been a bit further. But King Calamity was legal for a while. So I'm like, so you can play King Calamity, which you can turbo out, #1, but Dragoon is banned.
I feel like when the Master Duel came out, because I played it for like the first 2 months,
it was
maybe
January of last year.
January of last year. Jesus, it feels like longer. It feels like we've had it for like 2 or 3 now. But I was just thinking, this has just been, like, Calamities had just been recently-ish banned because of VW being able to just make loads of level 9s and just spam them out over and over and over again in the TCG. And then Master Duel comes out and he's here, and I'm like, why is he back? We only just got rid of him. Oh, God. It's mad.
That's my problem with Master Duel. It's like they will allow problem cards to exist, and then, other ones are where they draw a line. And the thing about Dragoon that I think is cool is Dragoon can be played in a lot of anime decks. A lot of people just want to play anime decks. Let them have something that they can play with. Dark Magician could be so much more viable if they had Dragoon.
And it still wouldn't be top meta. It would just be a deck that you could actually play.
I'm gonna just say, if they bring back Dragoon tomorrow, it still won't be seen in top that much.
No, because we've moved kind of past. Because it used to be, you could play like a more control-y, slower, like heavy deck, and then you would fill it with Vertes and Red Eyes fusions to sort of make your... He was your boss, but the control element is what you'd be doing most of the game. And people aren't really playing decks like that anymore. I guess Dino Morphia is kind of the closest to that right now. And even then, Dino Morphia is still like a turbo version of that. Like they go in real quick.
Yeah.
They get themselves down to like 100 life points on turn like 2 or something now.
Yeah. But to mostly answer your question, what I would do in Master Duel, if I could change stuff, is just add more balance. And something else that I would love to see is 2 things, actually. #1, I know they hate it. I know they hate doing this stuff, and they're probably never going to do it again. But they could literally use Master Duel as a way to test out erratas. Imagine, how they have those monthly events? What if they do, like, hey, let's test out errata Maxx C in this event? It'll be just a normal format, but you can play Maxx C with the rules, for example, where you're going to do once per duel and not like you can literally use Master Duel as a testing ground for errating stuff in these events. Like there's so much you can do with this game that I feel like they're not utilizing, and I don't know it's because they're just still so focused on the paper game or what, but like it's just they're underutilizing Master Duel for what it can be for the game. But the other main thing I would do, and this is something that I was always told they were going to do in the beginning of before Master Duel came out, is add formats. Like not everybody wants to play Modern, you know. No. Like add a GOAT format, add an Edison format, add whatever popular format exists, and just let people play those. You know, they can have ranked, casual, GOAT, Edison. Do you know how many people will come back just for GOAT? Everybody who grew up with it. You know how many people will come back for Edison?
And
people
for
who grew up with it, or people who play right now.
There would be so many streamers playing like GOAT. Like I feel like it'd be so good. People are anyway, but you can't quite because not all the cards are in. Like that, you can craft some of the banned cards, but just not every single card is actually in the game, even the banned ones. So it's like,
see, that's why. And what else it would do with that is it would spiral you down as a player. Because I came back with Duel Links in 2016. Because I remember Duel Links came out. I knew Yu-Gi-Oh had been crazy, and I did not want to get into it. But Duel Links came out, I'm like, oh, this is basically, what I grew up with. And I started playing the game. And from there, I kind of just started trickling into the more modern stuff as they started releasing it. And now with Master Duel being out, I'm like fully back in the game.
Yeah.
The amount of people that would come back for GOAT or Edison and then evolve into Modern as well, like the growth potential is crazy there. It's a no-brainer. A couple lines of code, add the mode, and just watch what happens.
Thank you for your kind gifts, Lewis, Sean, Ben, John, Zaid, Z, Corin, Eric, Wolfie, Joel, Cat, and Chaos. Big appreciation all round.